Hi everyone, this is Matt, and today I'm going to be showing you how to move a website, a WordPress website, from the internet and put a copy of it on your local machine so that you can do testing. For example, if you're editing WordPress themes or you're creating your own, it's nice to have a WordPress site on your local machine to do testing on. So my particular setup here is with Windows 7 and I'm running WAMP, and there's an interesting configuration difference with mine from what the defaults are as far as WAMP goes. My local machine, the localhost, is running not on port 80, which is the default, but it's running on 8080, and that causes I wouldn't say a problem, but if you're not familiar with how to work around it, it could be frustrating. So I'm going to show you how I get around that whenever I'm creating a local copy of a WordPress site. So here we go. You'll see on the screen I have the live site here. You'll see it's just a basic WordPress site. Doesn't have really any content. It's a fresh install of WordPress, but you don't have to have a whole bunch of information. The steps are pretty much the same, whether you have a bunch of data in the database or not. So this is the live site, and then I also have open in another tab, I have phpMyAdmin for the live site. And so we're going to be using this tool, which will be included with your WAMP installation. And I'll just show you that here. In the other browser, I have two tabs open as well. I have the directory. I've browsed to the directory that I'm going to be putting the site in. And I also have the localhost phpMyAdmin open. And I'm logged in as the root user for that. So to start off with, I'm going to open my FTP program, which I've already got connected to the live site, and I'm just going to take this www folder and I'm going to move it, well, not move it, but download it to that folder that I was just showing you here in here on the local machine. And just to verify that, if you watch right down here, when I refresh this page, you'll see there's been a www folder created, and there it is. So while the files are being transferred, we're going to minimize that and work on the database side of it. So we'll go to the live copy of the database, and we're just going to export this data to a file. And we'll export it to a file, and what we'll do is we will download that file and save it in a location where we can get to it here in a minute when we get ready for it. So we'll go into that database. This is the WordPress database, and then we'll click export, and now we get this screen. I just normally just do the quick and the format we'll leave for SQL. We're just going to create an SQL file for this, and we're going to save that file right in the same folder where we're putting the www folder. So I'm going to click save. It's downloaded already, and now we have all the data here on the local machine. However, it's not in the local database. We need to get it in the local database. So I'm going to open up the local browser and go to the phpMyAdmin. Now, we can't populate a database if it doesn't exist. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a database with the exact same name as the live one. And that name is dzgnrcom_WP590. So we'll create this database, and once the database is created, you'll see it here. It comes up in your list. Now we can go into this database and import that data that we dumped into that file. So we're going to click Import and Browse, and we will select this SQL file, and then we'll click Open and Go. I just normally leave all these settings to the defaults, but I click Go. It'll think about it for a minute, and then you'll see that the import has been successfully finished. It's recreated the database just like it was out on the internet. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to do with that data, but before we do that, I don't want to get sidetracked from creating a user that can access this data, because our WordPress site is going to have to access the data, so it's going to need to have a user associated with it in order to accomplish that. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to get a file, and I'm going to use a text editor here, but if we go to the file, let's open the file in this folder here. Okay, this is the folder that we're populating right now through the FTP program. But if you go into the root of the www folder, go into the web root and look for this file right here, wp-config. And if you open that with your text editor, you'll see that the password for the user, the database name, all of the database settings are in this file. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to copy this password out of here. That's really all we need. And then we'll go back out. Well, actually, let's just set the privileges on this. You'll see there's no user for this database, so let's create one. Add user, and the password we already have on the clipboard, so I'm just going to hit Control V and paste it in there. And then the username is going to be DZGNRCOM_WP590. I'm going to put localhost here for the host, and scroll down here and see what the okay, so it's going to set up the privileges on the database with the same name as the user. So that's fine. We don't want to give global privileges, but all of the rest of that looks good. So let's click Add User. We have added a user, and it has privileges on this database, and so we are good to go on from that perspective. However, what we need to do is we need to make one adjustment here while we're in this database in the WP_options. So click that, and you'll notice that when we transferred the data from the live site, you'll see that for the site URL, WordPress thinks we're still on the domain, the live domain, and we're not. We're going to be on localhost port 8080, so we need to edit this. So I'm going to click Edit, and I'm going, while that's part of the URL we want to use, it's not the correct one, so I'm going to change that to reflect the URL that we are using. And if you remember, we put all these files in a folder called www, so I'm just going to put that in there, and I think I'm going to copy that onto the clipboard because I think we're going to need it here in a minute. Anyway, when you get that changed, hit Go, and now we've reassigned our site URL to reflect the fact that it's on our local machine. Let's check our files and see if they are done being transferred. Looks like there's still a little ways to go on it, so I'm going to pause the video while those files continue and finish, and then I will restart it when it gets done. Okay, you can see that our download is done. We have all the local files on the machine, so I'm going to get rid of that window. Now, as you recall, we were just editing this so that we would have our site URLs correct. However, we're almost done, but if we were to click here and try to go see the website right now, we would get an error. And let's just demonstrate that by clicking it. See, we get an error because there's another setting. It's trying, if you notice, whenever I click this, it forwards to localhost. And that's because we're missing a setting. See how it drops the 8080 off of there? And that's because we're missing a setting in the admin area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate directly to the login screen. Oh, and I got the address wrong because if I remember right, there is a www in there and then admin. So we'll go to this login. You can see we're still on the local machine, and I'm going to log in with my admin user that I set up on the live site. And once we get into the control panel, we can make that edit under settings, and you don't really have to click general. You can just click settings, and you can see right here we have the WordPress address is set to the right one because this comes from the database. However, the site address, the URL, is still reflecting the live site. So I'm going to paste in the local one there, and normally I would go through and review all of these, but we're fine. So I'm just going to save that just to give you the example. And if you go back here now to the main site, we go visit the site, you'll see now that the forward does not happen. It stays on the local, or it stays on port 8080, and you can see that we can click through and all of the pages are being located properly. So now we have a fully functioning WordPress website, which is an exact copy of the live one running on localhost on a on the non-standard port, on a port other than the default. So that's how you move a WordPress site from a live server to a local machine running WAMP. Thanks.